Good morning. Welcome to day 6. So over the last 5 days and today and tomorrow, I've been talking about speaking up, about becoming visible, about doing things in a way that feel really good to grow your business. And this work that I want to share and these sort of tips, even though they are practical, even though they are straightforward, even though they're not complicated, they will challenge you in some kind of way. This is one of the things that I spoke about earlier in the week about polishing the shelves of your business. We want to do all the fun things generally. I know that I do, and especially if I'm having wobbles about things, I feel like I just want to hide, or I want to do things that are a bit more quiet or take up less space, or are morning, or are kind of easier or in my comfort zone. And ultimately, this has been something I've really had to work harder at my business, because if I come back to my morning, my core why and why I want to do what I want to do, and because I do have this thing sometimes, and I've definitely had this in my throughout me doing this, of like, wouldn't it just be easier to get a job, or wouldn't it just be easier to be one of those people who shows up for work in any old situation and just kind of grins and bears it. And no, I'm not a yoga teacher. I do love yoga though. I sometimes feel like maybe I could just fake it or make it and just do that. But I know ultimately there's something in my core that refuses to do that. So today I want to talk about ease and flow, and how you can really make your work for you in terms of the ease and flow. So firstly, this is great timing, because I checked my stats this morning on my podcast, and since I launched in January 2018 the podcast, today, or this month, September 2020, is the greatest number of downloads I've ever had in 1 month. And this has really caused me to be reflective, and I've created, I can't see, kind of, you're gonna see my gormless face having a look at it, but I think I've done about 325 episodes. Now this is worldwide on my podcast. So this is an interesting one, because some people would say, whoa, 325 episodes, that's loads, or like, I bet it's loads of work for you, or oh my goodness, how do you keep going with that? And definitely there's been times that I've had really good consistency with it, that it's just, I've been able to keep on top of things and everything is up to date and all the rest of it. And there's some times where it's felt harder. It's felt like I needed to take a break or step back or do less and all of these things. And I had my daughter in the middle of this, so I had her in August 2019. So I've certainly had those shifts in my own personal life of how I've worked. But ultimately, when I was having this conversation, for me, generally, the podcast doesn't feel hard work for me. And this is because what I've done with my content and how I become visible, I've worked on my own strengths, and I've done things that I know that I'll be able to create consistency, and that I'll be able to sustain. And I am looking for this, and this may sound really boring, but in lots of areas of my life, actually one of my drivers is consistency. And this has been something that I've learned and had to learn to kind of settle into. So, growing up in the 80s and 90s, it was all about like, right, do the 28 plan, cabbage soup diet, lose a stone, and then, figure it out later on down the line. And I was just, I was watching my mum, I was watching other mums kind of go, oh my God, I'm going on holiday next week. Right, I've got to quickly slim down, or I've got to do this. Or there might be some people who are like, right, I've got to make all this money in this short amount of time. And for me, I'm always looking where I can stay in that wavy line. And I actually don't like those big extremes and those big sort of lows. And of course we get them at some points, you know, with life, things throw different stuff. But generally what I'm looking for is consistency, and to feel like I'm finding my rhythm, I'm finding my way of moving forward in this. And when I'm coming back to the content that I'm showing, morning, when I'm coming back to the sorry, there's London sirens going on. When I'm thinking about my own, hello? All right, I think they go. So when I'm thinking about my own content, I'm thinking about how can I bring ease and flow to it. And instead of going, right, one day per month, I will have this one glorious, glossy situation. So there are some things, there are some business models that work really well for that. For example, you know those beauty subscription boxes, people wait once a month for this one thing to come through the door, and they can deliver their content, their goodness that way. But for me, and maybe for you, in terms of growing, in terms of you growing your own business, I actually work the opposite way. Because one thing I've realized is people quite often take a long time to make a decision about working with you, about taking action, about what technology they're going to use, about all of these things. So as a business owner, it's your responsibility to go, how can I support them on a daily basis? And of course, you need to do this within your own boundaries, your own limitations. This is not about burning yourself out and constantly spending your life on the internet or anything like that. This is about working to your own strengths. But I really want you to explore what this looks like. Because what you can find is there is some kind of stat that people say they need to see you 7 times before they make a commitment or before they sign up to work with you. And of course you will have other people who'll just literally find you and go, oh my goodness, you're exactly what I need, let me sign up, off we go. But generally people will need to warm up with you. I did a video yesterday where you have to think about that not everybody is ready to get married and to date immediately. So if you were going out dating and immediately somebody was like, I love you, I want to get married immediately, that might be a bit full on, to say the least. So it's kind of like that with your customers and your clients, that they are starting to get to know what you're all about, seeing if you're a fit, seeing you in different situations. Maybe they want some credibility. Maybe they need to make sure that the kind of customer that you work with is the kind of customer that they are. How are you in different types of situations? Are who you say you are? And sometimes there are things where people will watch me on my own platform and they'll watch and absorb the information, but it's only until I'm then, say, interviewed on somebody else's podcast where I share a bit more vulnerability, or I share morning, or I share a personal story or something like that, and that's the point where they go, oh, I've suddenly connected, there's something in that, I didn't know that about you. And that's why this kind of consistency and flowing and showing up on a regular basis, sometimes little and often, is going to get you ultimately where you want to get to. So the temptation is to sometimes go, I'm just going to do this one big thing once a month. But if you don't have the people who are ready to receive that big number of subscribers, or those people who are really waiting for that, I feel like it's too risky. Because if we work on the basis of people needing to see you 7 times before they actually sign up or they do the thing, you could be waiting 7 months. So you could send your first one today at the end of September, and then you're not going to see any results until the end of March, and that feels like a long time in the world of, you know, running your own gig. So another reason for me that the podcast really works and why it's grown and it hasn't felt like it's been a big boulder that I have to keep shoving up a hill is that it works in lots of different formats. So it works in terms of a standalone audio. It works in terms of being a video. So I try and record them as videos as well. It also works for SEO in terms of my website, so people can go on and they can enjoy the podcast and they can sort of see it in terms of different categories. So you could go on my website, nikiraby.com, and you could find, say you listen to one about money, you can go and you can find more in that kind of category. So it works in terms of giving more people what they want and giving lots of, interesting value. Also, ease and flow in terms of the podcast for me has been you're in people's ears. It's a very engaged place to be, I guess. It's a real privilege that people might want to listen to what you say. I know that podcasts help me so much. This morning my kids were up at 5:15. I know. I was cleaning the kitchen and I had a podcast on in the background, and, they are very much part of my kind of background noise. And I'm not saying that I don't enjoy and I don't absorb it, but sometimes I'll just take like one or two takeaways away from it. Another thing with podcasts and doing things consistently is people get to know, if you're clever and strategic with it, the kind of stuff that you talk about. So when we first went into lockdown, I had several people messaging me saying, right, I'm going to go and listen to some of your interviews because they're always uplifting and they make me feel good. So the fact that I have those things and I'm very discerning about who I bring on and who I have conversations with, it really helps people to become familiar with what they're going to get. And that always happens, doesn't it, with TV programs or new formats or things like that. Sometimes it takes a little while to adjust. And I do see this podcast as a sort of living, breathing situation that is open to change morning. But ultimately, I want to invite you to think about your own content in terms of, are people relating to the sort of stuff that you're going to talk about? Are you becoming not predictable, but are you becoming familiar? Are people going to know what they're going to get from you? What's your vibe going to be? How can you bring that ease and flow? So if you start there of how can you just make this easier? How can you do it in a really lovely way that feels really good, that feels doable? So I really admire those people who do daily vlogs. When they set the camera up and then they kind of get back into bed and they turn the lights off and then they're like, oh, good morning. Oh, I'm awake for the day. I've got 2 small children, they're 4 and 1. I'm not setting up vlogs. I'm going, right, how many kids have I got in my bed? What's going on? What time is it? What day is it? Where do we have to be? Oh my goodness, what kind of night was that? What kind of day have we got ahead? That's how I'm thinking in that way, morning. So I want you to think about this in terms of your ease and flow. What's going to really work for you? And if you're finding that you're resisting something, so I know so many people over the years have said, like, you should do a Facebook membership group. Like, that would be really good and we can do this. Or somebody said to me a little while ago, like, you should create this kind of course. I'm just going to plug this phone in 1 second. And I knew that actually, you can see all my mess in the background, there we go. And I knew that, yeah, of course, that could be good. But I knew actually in a couple of weeks, it wouldn't be the best fit for me. It wouldn't be the thing that would allow me to really do what I needed to do in the best possible way. And when we're busy and when we're juggling lots of things, whether that's clients and all the rest of it, that's when you need to figure out what your strengths are. How have I done this? 1 second. There we go. I'm going to hold it. That's better. So yeah, thinking about what you need in terms of your content and how you can repurpose that. So I've spoken about this earlier in the week as well. I don't own Instagram. Not yet. So I need to think about how I'm going to make my content work for me and how I can have it stand alone. So many people will say, do I need a website? But do I need to do something else? And somebody who had done my Speak Up course was talking to me the other day about applying to be on a TED Talk. And she was saying, yeah, but I don't have like loads of professional videos, and it was on my to-do list. And I was thinking about, I could sort of feel her trail of thought, like I needed to do all of this, but then lockdown happened. And I just asked her the question of, how can you show that you can do the job? And ultimately, if you're here for business, that's a really good point of reference, because otherwise it can just encourage you just to waffle on, or just to show up, or go, oh, I'll just post once a day just because people say that it's good for engagement. How can you keep consistently showing that you can do the job? How can you show your value? How can you show who you are, what you do, your flavor, your vibe, and ultimately how you can get people from A to B within your business? What are people looking for, and where are they up to, and how can you guide them? What is your formula? What is your mission? What's your way of doing things? So I'm going to leave it there for you today. I'm going to tell you about Speak Up, because I love delivering this program. It's there. I started it a year ago. I'm a trained actor. I'm a paid speaker. I'm a top 100 business podcaster, and I'm in the top 10 of careers in Thailand, bizarrely, this week. But it's an interesting one, because speaking up, you would think, is the easiest part of your business, because people will say, well, just tell people about it. But actually, it brings up all your stuff. We don't know what to say. We don't know what to write. How do we describe ourselves? We don't want to be too big for our boots. All of these things. So this program will take you in 4 easy steps. And there's 2 options. There's one option where you can just experience the course as a standalone, and the second is that you can work with me to do it. So you get a session with me, and you get some support afterwards, kind of email, WhatsApp support. And the reason that I do this is because how many times have you purchased a course or done something, or even had a session with somebody, and you're like, great, I feel so motivated, I want to do this, and then the next day you have almost like that self-development hangover of like, yeah, I don't know how to move forward now. Oh my God, this sounds like, oh, this is too much, morning. And that sense of implementation, that sense of how do I actually do this thing? And I always say this in my speaking gigs, is if I make somebody feel inspired and motivated, I've only done half my job. My job, I guess, is to help you to actually take the action. And I've noticed this so much in my own career, in my own life, that there have definitely been points where I've really had to push myself out of my comfort zone. Because remember, in the back of my head, I'm always a bit like, yeah, but I'm a chubby ginger person, I can't do that, or I feel really frightened about that, maybe it's not for me. Or, you know, I went to drama school and I had a really thick northern accent, like, oh no, maybe I'm not posh enough to be here. All of this stuff, and I'm sure you too as well, you know, we all carry this stuff, like maybe we're not good enough, maybe we're not an expert enough. So what I'm really interested in is not only giving you the tools and making you feel good and all the rest of it, but really helping you to do the stuff that you actually want to do, so you don't get to another end of a month or year or something going, okay, that was good, but I still haven't done that. One of the things, the areas that I'm really working on in my life is well, I'm not going to say what it is, but I'll probably do a post about it, but I decided that I had to go all in with it, and it's something that I really want to get good at. And so I set myself a challenge for the next 90 days that I'm going to do 5 things every day that will get me closer to that goal and becoming better at it. And suddenly when I'm like, okay, I'm actually going to do this, let's see what happens. And I've got this little app called, Strides it's called, and you can set it to create a habit or whatever. I really love it. And so, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing 5 things every day. And it's something, this is when I notice about it as well, it's something that I moan about. It's something that I struggle with sometimes, and then I end up moaning about it and feeling really negative about it. So I've almost had that little word with myself of like, come on then, Raby, if you want to, talking to myself, if you want to get good at it, then make sure that you're putting enough input into this. Make sure you're actually doing the things. And I know so many people, they go, yeah, but I want more customers, or I want more money, or I want to get the gigs. Like somebody once said to me, an influencer at an event, I've told the story loads of times, but she said to me, how the F did you get stylist live, and I was on the main stage doing a talk when you don't even have swipe up. I mean, what the most cutting thing? No, it's fine, but it was such an interesting situation because I didn't have swipe up that I shouldn't be there in that kind of circumstance. And I'm proof that you can get the gigs that you want. You can create a full client list, and I have I don't even know what my numbers are, about 3,000 people on here. And I know there are people with 20,000 and they don't get the opportunities that I get, but I've learned to find my way. So if you've got any questions about it, if you're like, blimey, Nikki, I've actually just got to put my face on the internet, haven't I? I've got to stop hiding. I've got to do what I need to do. Share it, Paul. Share it all around. Where else can you put those videos? Can you put them on LinkedIn? Who's your ideal client, your customer? Where are they hanging out? Keep sharing it. And I do that with my podcast episodes as well. I keep bringing them into different places, doing, revisiting them. And this is something that I've realized. I've got about 325 podcast episodes. A lot of people will rediscover it. So some people go, oh, I didn't even know you had a podcast. Somebody from who I went to school with said this the other day. And then she was like, oh, there's loads more. So all of my stats go Gamers Random Acts of Kindness. Okay, great. So how can you keep delivering that kind of content? Where can you post it? How can you tell people? Ask people to share it. Keep giving value. I think that's a really good place to be. Give people a really solid call to action as well. Holly, thank you, that's so lovely. If I can share anything of yours, please let me know. I would be very happy to. You do on here, great, perfect. And also another thing that I can give you is when I do behind the scenes, when I share why I do what I do, or give context, or give stories, or like I'm doing a video that's going to go live later of why I use the technology that I use. That's another like behind the scenes, walking people through it. That's what we're all craving in this sort of education thing. So Paul, if you've got stuff where you're like, why do you do what you do? Why did you choose that particular thing? Why is that useful? How could other people do something similar? How can it connect to your bigger why, your bigger mission? All that kind of stuff. Right, I'm gonna have to go because I've got a client. Thank you so much for being with me. If you want to watch the videos, the other day 1 to 5 are all on here in my IGTV, and please share them if you found this useful as well. Or you can log in morning, or you can log in and on my website. If you go to the free gift section on nikkiraby.com, you'll be able to find them there, and you can log into Let's Get Visible, and all the videos are there for you to keep whenever you like. Thank you so much for being with me, and I'll speak to you soon. Thank you. Bye.